I had just got all A's on my report card, and my parents said I could pick in where I wanted to go because I did so good in school, which I said let's all go to Chuck E. Cheese because I have not been there in a very long time. I was 12 years old when I arrived at Chuck E. Cheese. My parents and I waited in line for our turn to pay, which my parents then paid and got me some coins so I could play the arcade games. After playing some arcade games, I then saw the Chuck E. Cheese mouse, which his name was Charles, if I can remember it right. I then started to eat my cheese pizza my mom and dad had bought me. After eating, I then started to go play this one game that was away from the others. The game was a basketball game, and it was kind of addicting. I had played like 6 rounds until beginning to try another game, due to the fact that I did not want to waste all my coins on this game, because the tickets were not that good. I then looked at my coin bucket and could see I did not have that many coins left, and was about to go see my mom and dad and see if they had some more coins, but on my way there, I bumped into the Chuck E. Cheese mouse, Charles, which he said, "Hey there, buddy." I said, "Hey." "Well, what's wrong there, buddy?" I replied, "Oh, nothing, I'm just almost out of coins." Charles then said follow him, which he promised me that he would give me some more coins. It was just back here. As strange as that sounded, I then trusted him and followed him, which it was in a hallway away from everyone. I then started to get a strange feeling and started to say, I think I'm gonna just wait out here. But the look he gave me had me scared for my life. I then started to try and run out the other way before he grabbed me and threw me into this dark room, which he did. And he then shut the door and I began to bang on the door, trying to get someone to hear. I then saw a group of kids, which was telling me that the room was our silent proof. Nobody can hear you, but you can hear them. I then was lost for words and just waited there, hoping my dad or mom would come and rescue me. After a few hours at Chuck E. Cheese was about to close, and I could hear my parents asking everyone, "Has anyone seen my son?" As they described me, nobody knew where I was. My parents then said, "Then we're about to call the cops and they'll come investigate this place," which the police showed up and began to search through the building. As I saw the door open, I then saw a light again. And I was so happy and ran to my parents, which the cop then saw all the kids that were scared for their life. The cop began to question everyone, which I said it was Charles, the Chuck E. Cheese mouse. He did this to us. Charles began to try and run, which the police shot Charles with the taser gun and arrested the man for kidnapping children. Honestly, I do not plan on seeing the man ever again, which he has been locked up for a very long time. In 2005, I started my first job, which I got a job at Chuck E. Cheese. The pay wasn't bad and I got discounts. I also got free pizza and I got to play arcade games on my break. My job title was to clean up the bathrooms, take customer orders, and would sometimes be the prize cashier. Working at Chuck E. Cheese, though, had cons. You see, there would be some nights where we'd have to call the police due to people not wanting to leave when we'd have to be about to close up for the night. This shift I am thinking about in particular type is not a normal shift. This takes place a couple months into my working shift. I'm working at Chuck E. Cheese, so one day I was working for my coworker, Lee. I would give customers the coins so they could go play arcade games that we had. They're helping out customers with getting them coins and prizes that they would win. I would have to hand over the prize they wanted to have, and if they had enough tickets, I would give it to them. After a couple of hours of that, it was about to close in 40ish minutes or so. This guy and his son then came into Chuck E. Cheese and asked, "What time do you guys close?" Which I replied with, "We close at 10 p.m. tonight." I thought the man would take the hint and leave, so we could start cleaning up. But the man then paid and I got him and his son some coins. They can go play games until 10 p.m. would come around. After a couple minutes went by, the man then came to the desk and asked for my number. The man then got annoyed when I told him that I was seeing someone, and he walked out mumbling something under his breath, which I ignored due to the fact I was at work and did not care what the man really had to say. The time was now 10 p.m. and everyone had to leave, as me and a few other coworkers then started to kick everyone out. The man and the kid then left. We started to check around, calling to see if anyone else was still here. We got no reply. We began to look, and the coast was clear. We began to lock up the doors and started to clean. I had to clean bathrooms and wipe down tables. It took me almost 30 minutes. Anyways, after saying my goodbyes to my coworkers, I then began to start walking to my car, which my car was in the parking lot, but I hated walking in the dark due to the fact I was a female and did not like the dark. We also had no lights back there, just a little enough to see your car, but that was about it. I started to approach my car and began to back up and leave the parking lot. As I could see a figure standing behind my car, I had a camera in my car, so when I would back up, I could see, which the figure was the man from earlier, except he looked really mad. I then drove around the man, not sure what the man's problem was, and began to get on the highway, make it back to my house. Now, looking back at this story, I wish I would have called the police when I saw the man, because what happened to me next is very disturbing. After driving for 15 minutes, my house was around the corner. Nobody was outside or even on the road, but I did see this black Honda type of car that was following me, which I was not sure if the car was following me due to the fact I lived in a big city at the time. But I then drove closer to my house. I then saw for sure that the car was following me. I then saw the cops, which the cops then said they'd be on their way. After hanging up, I then looked in my window and saw the man. He was wearing all black. He had a hammer in his hand, which I began to drive away, but the man then busted my window and tried to open my door. I then sped out, and the man got his Honda and began to follow me, which I told the police where I was. The police told me to stay on the phone and told me where to go. I then took the man to the police. The man was arrested, and I still don't know what the man wanted from me, but from what I saw, the man did not have good intentions. I had always wanted to work at Chuck E. Cheese, even when I was a younger boy. Just the feeling of working at Chuck E. Cheese used to make me smile. I would go to Chuck E. Cheese a lot as a kid, and would eat the pizza they had. Also played the arcade game. I then waited till I got older and applied for Chuck E. Cheese. I then got accepted, which they said to come in and fill out some paperwork, but you could only take the survey at work, not at home. I then agreed to it all and waited till they would want me to come in to fill out the paperwork. I then told my parents, which they were happy for me as well, because like I said, when I was a little kid, working at Chuck E. Cheese was my dream job. And I know the younger version of me would be so excited to be able to work at Chuck E. Cheese. After I then got the call to come in and fill out the paperwork, which my manager said it would not be that long. Just, I had some paperwork to fill out. I then got in my car and drove to Chuck E. Cheese to fill out what needed to be filled out. After filling out a couple of papers, my manager then said, "Sign this," which I began to read. And from the beginning, it did not sound good at all. I then asked what the paper was, which my manager explained that it's just basic rules and for Chuck E. Cheese, the policy that needed to be followed. And do not break any of the rules or you'll be terminated. I then signed the paper and began to ask, what does terminated mean? Which she just said that you would be fired, keeping it vague, not trying to explain what the real meaning was behind it. I then left and waited until my real work day shift would start. After arriving to my real work shift, I was showed around by Ash. She showed me everything, but there was this one hallway that had a door that was boarded up, and I had a code to get into it. I then started to ask about the door, which my manager Ash just said was security footage and stuff like that. I began showing around Chuck E. Cheese, but I then went back to work. It's my first day at Chuck E. Cheese, which went smooth in my opinion. It was the same for a couple of months of working at Chuck E. Cheese, until I had to work night shift, which I was having a good day at work at first, and customers were nice, but as the time got closer to closing, we then had a group of men, like 6 or 7 men, which had one backpack on. The security did not catch any weapons, at least it did not go off. I did look and saw that the lights were on, but I did not know how the security at Chuck E. Cheese worked, so we let the men in as they just stared at me and my other co-worker was working with. An hour until we'd be closing up, which I began to start cleaning up early, so I could try to get home early, and not have to stay over work for an hour just for cleaning up. I was beginning to clean the bathroom and saw one of the men try to come in. As I said, "I'm cleaning, give me 1 second." There was a cleaning sign on the door. After cleaning, the man then came in and I left the bathroom to go to the front area, make my way down to the arcade area. As the time was now 10 p.m. and Chuck E. Cheese was closing, I then started to tell the group of men that they had to leave. The group looked at me and started to pack their things, and I kept cleaning as I saw the men begin to leave. We started to lock up. After cleaning, I then told everyone I was out and I was about to go home, which my co-worker was nowhere to be found. I then looked outside the Chuck E. Cheese window and saw a group of men outside staring at me. From the looks of it, them looks did not look like friendly stares. I then saw my other co-worker, which she said she was sorry, and I could see that she turned off the security scanner. I started to ask why, which the man from outside then pulled out guns and started to shoot at the Chuck E. Cheese window, breaking everything, glass flying everywhere. I then got down and was about to have a heart attack. My heart was beating so fast. I then heard the Chuck E. Cheese alarm start to go off. As the man began to run and leave, I then could hear the cop sirens from the distance. I then saw my coworker, which she said that was our family and that they were aiming to kill me because they did not like me. I was confused and did not know what their problem was about me, but the cops then showed up and made sure we was okay. After explaining to the cops what just happened, the men were down the street and I could hear gunshots from the distance. As the men began to make their way back to Chuck E. Cheese, and finish what they started. The cops then shot the men, due to the fact the men were not trying to cooperate, but instead shoot. After that happened to me, I then quit Chuck E. Cheese, and have not been back there since. Still to this day, I do not know what the men wanted from me, but from the looks, they did not want me alive.